Hello and welcome back to the Arsenal Therapy Podcast. My name is Farhan, also known as Gunner since '96, and I'm here with James as we discuss the post-match reaction to Arsenal losing 2-1 to Villarreal. A very, very disappointing result, a utterly shambolic performance, and a lot of things made clear for us, for many of us, for the first time in a very long time. James, how are you doing today?
I am doing okay in the grand scheme of things. Still majorly disappointed with yesterday's result. Absolutely shambolic in every way, shape, or form, especially in that first half. But yeah, we're going to get into that.
Yes, we are. We are indeed. We were supposed to start this podcast 2.5 hours ago, and the result itself very much is in line with how we're feeling this morning. I didn't sleep until, well, James, you know what time I went to sleep because I was messaging you
Yeah.
at around 3 a.m. in the morning, and so I
Yes.
forgot to put my alarm on so I could wake up on time. And here we are, Arsenal once again, causing problems even without matches being played. So let's start off by talking about the starting 11 because there's a lot to talk about. Really, this game itself, despite the horrible football, there were other things that are worth talking about, like team selection for one, like tactical setup. I think a lot of this is going to be about Arteta, about what he got wrong, and about fan sentiments towards him, because I've seen a massive shift, a massive shift in trust, in, you could say,
Belief. Yeah.
belief. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's start off by talking about the starting 11. What were your initial thoughts on Arteta's starting 11?
Well, again, Xhaka at left back, massive gamble. He keeps persisting with him.
Yeah.
And yesterday was the first time I've said, "What the hell are you doing?"
Mm.
Because it's okay experimenting in the Premier League and playing him in other games like that, but in a European semi final, I know
Mm.
he's played the couple last Europa League games at left back as well. But when you're at a semi final, the experimenting stops,
Yeah.
and you don't change. You don't change what could be a winning. Well, you don't experiment as much as you normally do.
Mm.
The other thing about the false nine, I don't understand why you're experimenting with that as well.
Mm.
He made the excuse that sometimes we have three strikers on the pitch, and we don't score any goals.
Mm.
Um, so I'm not necessarily my position hasn't changed on Arteta yet because of yesterday's result, but I am
Mm.
nearing
Mm.
I am nearing breaking point. If we get knocked out next week,
Mm.
I literally won't have anything to back up my point on why probably Arteta deserves to stay in a job based on that performance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are feeling that way. And listen, I need to remind everyone that this was always going to happen. I said at the beginning of the season that this was always going to be a transition season, no matter how you dress it, no matter what Arsenal achieve or underachieve. This season was always going to be a season where Arteta needed the full season. And luckily for him, it's a pandemic season. So it helps a lot where he could get his house in order, his tactics in place, fix all the errors that he needed to. And only then will we be able to properly judge him. But let me give my thoughts on the starting 11. My predicted starting lineup was very similar, except that I had Lacazette playing up front. He's obviously not back full fit despite being in training. Aubameyang was on the bench, but I understand that he wasn't fully fit either, so difficult to start him. However, I did have Cedric in place at the left for Xhaka, and I justified that by pointing out that whoever was going to play left back was going to play against the young 21-year-old Nigerian Chukwueze, who is one of their standout players and one of the guys who was going to try and penetrate that left-hand side as much as possible, because that's where Arsenal's weak link is. Despite being, one of their top goal scorers as well, one of their brightest players who is being looked at by all European clubs around the world, around Europe, sorry, he was always going to hold that attacking, the attacking movements with him. It was always going to flow through him, and that was very much the case. I mean, we conceded in the first 5 minutes. It was clear what they were doing, and any idiot could have seen it coming, except for Arteta. And I can't for the life of me understand why that was. So that was a problem for me playing Shaka left back, because as well as he's done, and I'm saying this with caution because I don't think he's necessarily done amazingly well. He's done a good performance against really
okay,
bad sides, yeah. I think he played against Sheffield United and Slavia Prague, which worked. And then it was a case of it all falling apart against Everton, when he got absolutely done, left to hang dry by Richarlison. And yesterday, the same again. So, and I made the point as well that if there's a player that you want playing left back, you want something who is defensively capable, someone who you can trust, a defender, regardless of whether he's right-footed or left-footed, regardless of whether he plays right back or left back. You need someone who is defensively capable of dealing with any threat. Who better than Cedric? Put Bella in there. Who cares? Someone who knows how to do a defensive job. We don't need someone there who can play the ball forward. We don't need a ball player. We don't need a Kieran Tierney at this point, because we have competent players all around the pitch. We've got Pepe who knows how to do a job. We've got Xhaka in central midfield who does 10 times better job than he does at left back. So why do you need someone? I mean, that's the only sort of justification I have for playing Xhaka left back, other than aside from the fact that he's a great ball player, he knows how to feed the ball forward. I don't see any other reason why you'd put him at left back. So I think Arteta got it wrong in that for that to play Xhaka left back. Everyone else I was pretty much happy with at the back. Callum Chambers didn't look the best, but I still would have played him because the form shows us that he's probably your number one choice. Again, Mari was quite bad. Holding was okay. Everyone at the back last night, was really quite poor. I don't know what happened. I just can't put my finger to it. But on paper, I was happy to play them. Centre mid, Partey and Ceballos. We've seen Ceballos play really well in the last few games up until yesterday. Don't know what happened there. Partey as well started to fade out of the game. So, but look, in terms of starting 11, I was happy to play them there. Pepe and Saka, fantastic. More than happy to play them there. And then we had the case of playing Emil Smith-Rowe as a false 9 and Odegaard as the number 10. Now, I get the criticism. I do. I understand why fans are pissed that he did that. But had it had worked, we would have all been singing his praises this morning. So it's unfair to point that out and to drill him for that, because it was something that it was almost forced out of his hand. He didn't really have much of a choice. If you wanted to see Nketiah up front, guys, by all means, I'm not going to be here and advocating that choice. I don't want to see Nketiah playing in the starting 11 again this season, because I don't think he offers anything. He takes a space. That's the way I see it, unfortunately. Balogun, on the other hand, you could say, potentially we could have played him there, because guess what? He signed a new contract and he needs as much game time as possible. But do you want to play him in a semi-final against Villarreal? I most certainly don't. In terms of Martinelli, what do? You could have played Martinelli, because Martinelli has had minutes. He's had a lot of minutes. Recently, he's had time to develop, but is he ready to play centre forward when he can barely play left wing? He has great ability. He has a brilliant work rate, work ethic. He is like I'm trying to describe. He's like a little squirrel. He just jumps from one place to another really quickly. But he is not. He hasn't finessed. He hasn't sharpened his tools enough to be starting. And so, what does that leave you with? That leaves you with risking Aubameyang for 90 minutes, or you do what Arteta did, play Emil Smith-Rowe in a false 9. It didn't work really because Villarreal were brilliant. That's the only way I can put it. It could have worked, but Villarreal did their homework. Unai Emery did his homework, and he absolutely schooled Arteta. Having said that, though, let's talk about the game, because I've talked about the starting 11. Obviously, didn't work. There were some pluses, a big minus in playing Xhaka left back. But talk to me about that first 5 minutes, because that's when we conceded our goal.
First 5 minutes, I was doing a phone in with Scott the Red Cannon, and I said, I'll
Yeah,
say it again, I totally switched off. When we scored the first goal, I didn't even react. It's getting to the point where I don't even react to us conceding because
yeah,
I expect it's going to happen. It's like a dot on the cards, as they say.
yeah,
And I was just like, oh well.
mm.
Because it was that quickly we switched off that we switched were able to switch off that quick in the game.
Because we started
And
off pretty well, didn't we?
yeah, I think we started off pretty well. We were just trying to take a hold of the game and then click of your fingers, and then we were 1-0 down due
Yeah.
to defensive and stupid mistakes. But
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, because I really enjoyed the first opening 5 minutes up until the goal was conceded. I could see that there was a real attitude of trying to play a high tempo, trying to press them quite high up the pitch as well. You could tell that they were quite uncomfortable playing the ball out from the back, almost making a few mistakes. And but having said that, look, it was clear that. And I said this, I predicted this, and I hate being right about these kind of things because I'm a fan. I shouldn't be right. I should always be proven wrong. But I said this that Villarreal and Unai Emery were going to try and slow the game down as much as possible. We're going to try and play the tempo that suited them because we know that Arsenal like to play a high tempo, high energy type of game where pressing high on, passing it really quickly, trying to get it into the final third, suiting it a little bit more to the Premier League. But Villarreal, on the other hand, and with Unai Emery, and I remember this at his time at Arsenal, one of the biggest frustrating things was how slow we would build up. How many
yeah,
times we'd see the ball moving sideways. And they did that yesterday, and it worked a treat because it slowed us down. And we almost looked a little bit clueless at some points. But that first goal was a disaster, a train wreck. I want to talk about this
mhm,
first goal because this first goal very much summarizes Arsenal's season. And I'm going to pull it up here
same
because
actually.
um, because the manner in which that we conceded that goal was shocking. It was embarrassing to say the least. How we let Foyth and Spurs reject run that far without anyone putting in a leg, and this is to Ceballos, who was awful in that first opening 5 minutes. Yeah, so I can't quite understand because as you can see in the 4 minute 20 seconds, they are playing the ball from the back, really slow, really calm, and then the ball's then finally released on the right hand side to Foyth, who is able to run in. So as you can see, when the build up starts, Arsenal are backing off. This is mistake number one. You don't back off when the ball is in the final third. When the ball is in the penalty area of the opposition, you don't back off. This is what
No,
Arsenal have done really well this season. They have always pressed and always put the pressure on the opponent where they've been forced to either kick the ball out or make a mistake. We saw it against Slavia Prague in the second leg. In the second leg, the goalkeeper was kicking the ball out for a throw in time and time out because Arsenal were pressing high up and they weren't able to deal with it. So this is where Arsenal give the opposition space. The ball goes into the centre. He plays it out wide to Foyth. Foyth has miles of room to run. He's smiling to himself as he's running. He's thinking, oh, I've got this much freedom. Okay. Runs into the final third. He's then got 1, 2, 3. He's got 4 players around him. He releases it to Chukwueze. At that point, Chukwueze's got so much space and time on that right-hand side. Xhaka's really in trouble there. You could tell. He not only skips past Xhaka, he skips past Ceballos as well. So there is 2 defenders there, and he skips past both of them, and it's embarrassing. It really is a really
schoolboy
bad piece
error.
of defending, schoolboy error, and then the ball falls to the goal scorer, and I don't know who the goal scorer was, but he drills it bottom left, and they're 1-0 up, and you're thinking, here we go again. I'll be honest, at
It
that
was
point, I was.
Triqueros is the one.
No, he didn't score. He was the one that assisted. The goal scorer was, Trigueros Muniz. Sorry, I thought you were saying Chiqueras. Trigueros Muniz scored the first opening goal in the first 5 minutes. And at that point, I'll be honest with you, I was feeling a little bit like, here we go again. But I had belief that we could pull it back. You know, if opening 5 minutes it's usually quite good when a team, whether it be Arsenal or Villarreal, score quite early on because then it opens the game up and then you're expecting to see a real game of football. But talk to me about the following minutes after that goal,
Well,
remainder of that, or leading up to that second goal, almost. What happened? Why did we fail to respond?
it's the same old story. We'll go 1-0 down, and it's like we give up. We have a weak mentality, and we just give up. And
Mm,
with Arsenal sides down the years, that hasn't been the case. You see them as like I don't like to reference them too much, but you see like the Invincibles, and we're known for not giving up. But in
mm,
recent years, we've just gonna go down and we've just gonna go down and gone. Oh well, it's only a game of football, and we
yeah,
haven't responded, and that was exactly the same last night. Didn't respond well to the goal. Uh, didn't create many chances. Not that I can remember anyway.
mm,
Um, and yeah, just completely a bit lazy, if I may say, a bit lazy
mm,
to say the least of Arsenal, because they didn't show any fight after any response, and we needed a response desperately.
yeah. And I think we sort of did get somewhat of a response, because after that goal, I mean, the opening 10 minutes were very frustrating because we obviously conceded that goal and then we needed to bounce back up. And I felt like that the boys were almost a bit shell shocked. Didn't really know how to respond. They were rocked, and you could tell that Villarreal wanted to take advantage as quickly as possible, falling asleep, fading away quite early on. Really worried. I was really quite worried about Dani Ceballos early on as well, because he was being very rash. He was placing himself really awkwardly. I didn't like how deep he was playing, and this is what you get from Xhaka. This is what people don't realize about Granit Xhaka. His positioning off the ball is brilliant, because he knows where to be. He knows how to hold a structure. Now, he might not be the most intelligent player on the ball. He might not know when to pass the ball at all times, and he might take 3 or 4 touches. But where he is positioned allows the team to coherently pass the ball around. And when Dani Ceballos yesterday was playing so deep, it almost forced Partey to play that pivot role and to play it with Shaka's role in mind as well. So he was doing Shaka's role and his role at the same time, and it was a hand for him. And yeah, I felt like Ceballos made it a lot more difficult than it should have been. And I was surprised because he was playing up against Villarreal, a team that he should have been familiar with at his time in La Liga. So I'm surprised that he did take such a deep position. I'm surprised he played in such a way where it harmed us quite a bit. But
Yep.
look, we got back into the game a little bit. We were holding a lot of position after 10 minutes. I think uh, building up to the 15th minute, we had the ball quite a bit. We were passing it around quite a bit. We had the ball down the flanks. We looked quite dangerous, but it looked nothing. It came to nothing really. And then when you're thinking to yourself that we're 1-0 down, we're seeing most of the ball. It took us 25 minutes to have our first shot, really,
Mm,
with a great move playing from the back. And I think it was Bukayo Saka who had the shot that went over.
mm.
But credit to him, because we weren't creating anything else. We weren't having any other, so we weren't creating any other chances to have shots on goal.
Yeah, I think
And
we just needed that spark, and it came
yeah,
from Saka.
literally that's all we need. We needed to break them down the lines. We need to play the ball through the lines, and that's what we didn't do. We decided to play it down the flanks, and we suffered for it because straight after Partey's this was before Partey's 30-yard screamer, that is typical 30-yard screamers, trademark shots that we always see every game. But before that, we conceded another goal.
Yep. So yeah, just same old again. We have a shot. We have a shot. We seem like we're getting back into the game, and then we just get pulled back down to earth, and then make those stupid mistakes again. And yeah, concede another goal and have a mountain to climb at this point.
So what happened here in this second goal? Let's talk about it,
Let's talk
because
about it.
this is
I'm gonna pull it up now. Hold on.
this is
We're gonna.
very bad. This is very bad. This is minutes before the opportunity created by us where we're running down the flank with Pepe. Odegaard had the ball. Odegaard plays it short to Saka. Saka has a shot and it goes over. And then leads up. This is leading up to their goal. And it's from a set piece. Surprise, surprise. Again, it's funny, isn't it, how many set pieces Arsenal have, and in games, and on average, it's difficult. It's difficult to understand why Arsenal can't be as effective on set pieces as Villarreal were. I don't know whether it was because it was a great set piece or whether it was terrible defending. And so the ball comes into the box. It is a great delivery, I have to admit. But who is picking up? Who is that? Is that Chukwueze? I'm not sure who that is in the middle, but whoever heads that on. Who's supposed to be picking? I think it's Moreno. It's Moreno, isn't it? Yeah. Who's picking up number 9 Moreno? I think it's Mari. I think it's Mari that's supposed to be picking him up. And Moreno leaps above Mari and everyone else. And it is just, I can't explain it. I can't understand. This is training ground stuff. You need to time your jumps better and you need to be the first on the ball. You can't allow a number 9. I mean, I get it. Moreno's a bit too, he's obviously great in the air as he proved it, but you can't be out-muscled by Moreno. You need to be, shoving him out of the way. Use your strength. Put him on the weights. Get your header in there. Clear the ball out. He gets the header back post, and Raul Albiol's there to hit it home. It's almost like a tap in, and it just seemed like everyone was asleep because if you look back to when the ball is coming in, Bukayo Saka and someone else, I think it's Partey, are literally just standing there. As the ball comes in, they are motionless. No one is reacting to what's happening. And then the ball is flicked at the back post. Albiol's there, and everyone freezes, and and the body language just says it all. The body language says it all.
Yeah, you're totally correct. Considering we have a set piece coach, I don't know what they've been told to do. But as you said, the body language is totally wrong. I saw 2 indications of that. Rob Holding was laughing with one of the Villarreal players at a corner. You don't do that in a European semi-final. I'm sorry.
I mean, you think back to when Aubameyang did that with Aston Villa's centre back. What's his name? Mings. Mings was laughing away with him, and then he is a lapse in concentration, and they scored from it. You'd think they'd learn.
Yeah, you think they learn, and you shouldn't be laughing when you're in a game. You shouldn't be laughing with your. I know they may be your mates outside of, club duties, but you shouldn't be. It should be every man for themselves out there, and especially Rob Holding. He was a bit. He surprised me a little bit because he was still moaning at the decision at the beginning of the second half that happened in the first half. He's just he couldn't just he lacked concentration, and we need to concentrate in these situations, otherwise we lose the game.
Awful defending. Goddamn awful defending. And it just continued, really. I mean, you're 2-0 down. I was thinking back to the game against West Ham when we were 3-0 down pretty early on. It was a similar situation, and it did seem like they would score a third pretty early on following that goal. Thankfully, they didn't. But I wanted a response of which that we gave to West Ham, and I didn't get it. And I understand that you're playing in a European semi-final, but with all due respect to Villarreal, they aren't a great side. They didn't show me anything yesterday to suggest that they are a great side. They were a side yesterday who got a handful of opportunities, 2 or 3 opportunities in the first half. They took 2 of them. They didn't have much of the ball. They didn't create much on the ball. It was Arsenal that sat back. It was Arsenal that made errors. It was Arsenal that gave them the goals. So it was. If you're asking me, was this an Unai Emery masterclass? I'd find it hard to call it a masterclass of such, but he managed the game absolutely perfectly. He knew what Arsenal were going to do, and this, I think this is why fans are pissed at Arteta, because of how one-dimensional he was and how predictable Arsenal looked on the night. Because the only attacking outlet that I noticed us play was down the flanks. I only saw Bukayo Saka and Pepe really try and penetrate their defensive wall. I didn't see us try and break them down the middle. I didn't see us try to feed the ball, down the line, try and get it
Mm.
into Emil Smith Rowe, try and break down the heart of the defense, the centre backs. But also, I think it was difficult for us to try and attempt to do anything like that without a number 9. And also, I think Odegaard had a pretty flat game. I think he was
Mm.
quite, not to say he was poor, but I don't think he was as effective as we would have liked him to be. And that was maybe because he just come back from injury and he's a bit rusty and he needs that odd, Newcastle game or that West Brom game. Maybe he was brought back too early. Maybe Arsenal and Arteta should have played in Nketiah and Emil Smith Rowe down the middle at number 10. But look, with 30 minutes gone, really, it looked like that was it. The game was done. Arsenal
Yep.
were not going to get anything out of this game until we were given a penalty. The first penalty shout, lovely ball over the top for Pepe, ran onto it. It did hit his arm, but the referee did give a penalty until obviously VAR stepped into place and
VAR strikes again.
rescinded that. Did you feel like Arsenal? Yeah, did you feel like Arsenal were going to get a goal back in that first half after they scored their second?
No, I was the same as you. I just think that first half it was more of a feeling out process rather than looking to score a goal. I think we were still trying to figure out how Unai Emery was playing and how Villarreal were playing in that first half to then possibly go on in the second half and realize, oh yeah, we're playing a game here. We have to get back into this. So no, I didn't expect a goal in the first half to come, and it was further compounded by that no penalty decision, and that was really the end of the half at that point.
Yeah, I mean, just before the half ended, they almost got a third goal when Foyth was allowed to run into so much space. I think he passed the ball on to somebody, whether it was Chukwueze or somebody. I think it was Moreno who had a shot, and it was a great save by Leno. Leno, who, by the way, credit to him, saved us once again from conceding any more than we did, and we should have conceded a lot more. But that first half for me was absolutely dire. Poor, poor, poor. No tactical initiative there at all. No one really knew what to do with the ball when they got it. There was no plan. I think the only plan was to try and play it through the flanks, try and pass it into Pepe and Saka. And if that's the type of football that you want to play, then I'm sorry, you belong nowhere else than mid-table. That is what you call a mid-table mentality. Mediocre. And I feel for Arteta, I do, because I see in Arteta a coach who is a good coach. He knows how to coach players. He knows how to get in most cases, he knows how to develop players really well and get the best out of them. And not only that, he knows how to fix problems. But what he hasn't done is he hasn't developed the style of football that we need to play. Yesterday was a prime example of that. So, go on.
Yeah, no, but also that filters down to he hasn't been able to develop the style of play because of the players we have. Let's not forget we don't have the best players. We don't have the players that Arteta maybe wants to implement into his system. Yes, we have a few of them, but there are some people in that team that I could just go, yeah, you're gone, because there's some players in there that really don't deserve to be here. And I'm not one to criticize players, but there are some in there that really should either, if they want to stay, perform, or either get out of the club. Yeah, I think when he gets his players, and if he gets his players, because yet again it stems down to the Cronkies always, because we need the money to be able to spend on players.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous in itself, because you think that we would, but it's not that easy. Yeah, it's just I do feel sorry for Arteta in that way, but I do think he needs to learn some things, and obviously he is, because he's a developing coach. So hopefully he does learn from yesterday's game and prepares it well for next week.
Let's talk about the second half now. So the second half, I very much expected Arteta to make a change. make a change or two changes. I think conservative. To be fair, and judging by Arteta's track record, I think you might have expected one change. We got the opposite. Arteta made no changes, and Villarreal did end up making a change. They got our ex-player Francis Coquelin on for, don't know who it was, but they made a change, and they by making a change, they made a clear statement of wanting to sit back and wanting to see the game out. Arteta, on the other hand, I really, really expected him to take off at least either Odegaard, Emil Smith-Rowe, or Danny Ceballos. One of the three needed to come off and make way for either Martinelli or Aubameyang, because we needed to switch things up and we needed to start to play football, which was a little bit less unpredictable. We needed to cut through the lines. We needed to challenge Villarreal because they didn't have the best centre backs. Other than Torres, they didn't have the strongest back four compared to what they would have been facing. And we saw in the final minutes when Aubameyang came on, we finally, in the last 2 minutes of the game, finally decided to play the ball, feed through the line. We cut them up, sliced them like butter, and Aubameyang had the ball and he missed. Call it rustiness, call it whatever you want, but that was evidence enough for me to show that we approached this game wrong. Absolutely, we got it absolutely wrong. But let's talk about the second half. Let's talk about what we expected. I feel like the start of the second half was really quite bright. Pepe with a half chance almost instantly. Once again, really reluctant to play and look, you don't necessarily need to play the ball down the line. It doesn't always need to be like that. You can play the ball amongst Partey, Odegaard, Emil Smith-Rowe, and encourage Pepe and Saka to get in the box. If you've got players on those wings with that much quality, get them into the box and then play the ball into them and allow them to express themselves, allow them to have shots on target. Because I can bet you one thing, 1 out of 3 of those shots will be on target or will result into a goal. But they didn't do that. And, Pepe's half chance again gave me a bit of encouragement. I thought that maybe that we were going to switch up the way that we were going to play. Maybe that we were going to try and play it short to them and try and get them into the box. But these long balls continue to come in, and we've been seeing it time and time again this season. And I stress it again. You're never, ever going to make anything out of playing long, beautiful crosses into the box unless you have a number 9 who is able to win the ball in the air, number 1, or number 2, is physically strong and demanding enough to get a touch on the ball when the ball is fizzing into the box. Doesn't matter. And there were beautiful balls coming into the box. Some from Callum Chambers, some from Partey, some from Saka, even Pepe. And it was coming nothing to it. And I was getting so frustrated because there was no one there. And what made it even more frustrating was that Arteta wasn't making the change. He wasn't getting a number 9 on. I don't usually like to talk about his delay in making subs. To be honest, I've always been under the impression that it was a myth that he doesn't make his subs quick enough. I think that he's still learning, like you say. He's still developing as a coach, and I think fans often take it a bit too far when they say, he makes his subs too late. But last night he really did make them too late. He really did make it too late. I can't remember the first sub that came on, but it was I think it was after the Ceballos red card. Talk to me about the second yellow card. How do you feel about that?
Well, he was warned. This is what people are saying. He was warned by the referee. At the beginning of the second half, he made a challenge, and the referee went over to him and said, "1 more, and you're off." And he makes one, and he stamps on the Villarreal player's foot, and you only have to look at Mikel Arteta's reaction to realize, yeah, you've done it now. You're off. Because that is inexcusable. You've been told to be careful, calm it down, and it's just reckless. It's just absolutely reckless. And Mikel Arteta was actually going to take Ceballos off before that happened, but it was too late to do it. But because before he had a chance to get the substitution ready, he'd already done it and been sent off. So it really is a hard thing a bit of pill to swallow. But yeah, he will be out next game, and contrary to what people think, that may be a good thing.
Yeah.
Because I think we played well with him not on the pitch. I have to be honest.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, look, it seemed like that. It seemed like when we were 10 men, when we were 1 man down, that was the switch that flicked, and we started to then play football. We started to then hold the game, get the game by the scruff of the neck, and actually go for it. But and Villarreal looked a bit bemused, a bit confused. Like, hold on, what's happening here? You know, they've got 1 man down. Why are we sitting off for? But I personally felt like the second yellow was a bit harsh because it was his trailing foot that stepped on I don't know who it was, but the guy stuck his leg out, and I think Ceballos was quite unlucky to be where he was because he was in the motion of moving off, like running off, and it was quite difficult for him to stop his his feet from landing where it did. But you know, nonetheless, letter of the law, it is a second yellow and he is off, and that's when Martinelli comes on. Martinelli finally comes on, and I was praying, I was hoping that God, I really hope in the final 30 minutes he delivers, he does something, because if there's one thing that we can rely on Martinelli to do is make an impact,
yeah,
regardless of where he is. He just that injection of energy. And just after he comes on, I think they miss a worldie of an opportunity. I don't know if you can remember, but Coquelin feeds the ball into Moreno, and it's a really great save by Leno. He's basically one-on-one with Leno. He strikes it quite hard, quite central to to Leno, and it's saved. But that for me is a prime example of, regardless of how good Arsenal play or how possessive they are on the pitch, it only takes the opposition one opportunity, one opening to open us up. And I can't for the life of me understand why it is that Arsenal can't do that. Well, why is it the case that Arsenal need 5, 6, 7 opportunities in order to get a goal? But when it's in opposition, they only need one opportunity. They only need one opening.
yeah. You can talk about that all day until you blue in the face. It's always the case. You see teams, and I'm like, oh, I'd love us to be this good. I was watching City in the cup final against Spurs, and I was thinking to myself, oh, I'd love to be this good. You know, because
Mm.
they're just it's just seamless. But with us, it seems like we're always trailing behind, trailing behind the way we're playing.
Mm.
I don't know if that made any sense, but
No,
trailing
yeah, okay.
behind, as in our way of playing on the pitch isn't good enough. So, and we're always one step behind. But yeah, I just hope we can improve next week, because next week is the biggest game of our season by far.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, let's talk about the goal, our goal,
Mm.
because it was
Mm.
very sort of almost
Cool. Yeah.
instantly after the opportunity where we won that penalty. And again, it's Bukayo Saka who single-handedly, I think he was my man of the match yesterday because he was absolutely brilliant, even in that second half, always trying to make something happen. Pepe as well, by the way, who was brilliant, really good on the left-hand side. I've been screaming for this guy to play on the left-hand side. He has been doing it in the last few games, but why couldn't he have been playing there from earlier? Why did we persist with playing Aubameyang and Martinelli? I mean, I'm full of rants this morning because I can't, for the life of me, understand what logic Arteta is having here with some of the decisions. But we'll get onto that in a minute. The goal itself, really glad that the ref gave that as a penalty because I can see that not being given in the Premier League.
Mm.
And there's been a number of times where players have been clearly, blatantly fouled in the box. Referees not being given it, especially when you have 3 or 4 different players around one player. For me, when I first viewed it, it seemed as if that Saka just tripped or he just fell because there was a bit of a scuffle in the box. But he was indeed fouled, and we did get a penalty. And Pepe puts it in. He gets a goal, and then you're thinking to yourself, right, we've got our away goal now. Be honest with me. Did you think that after we got that goal, we were going to go on to score another one or to concede another one?
Well, I would always remain positive, and I said we always have a chance, because you know it's not only the adrenaline of scoring that first goal that can
Mm,
spur you on to score another one,
mm,
and it, it can happen to where you score the first goal and then you quickly go up the other end and score. So I was hoping for a good passage of play after the goal to hopefully go up the other end and score. And we nearly had that chance with Aubameyang, but
In the
he
last 2 minutes, literally. Yeah,
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 in the last 2 minutes he slipped, I think.
yeah.
And that's it. But I'm just the only positive I can take is the huge away goal that we scored.
Mm, mm.
That still keeps us in this tie.
Yeah, and let's also not forget, after that goal, just before before the Aubameyang chance happens, they had a hatful of chances to end the tie themselves. I was really worried and concerned how easily they were able to open us up, and it almost they needed to concede that goal for them to really unleash. But Moreno again with so many opportunities to score and end the tie, and us at the back half asleep, not really knowing how to defend, not really knowing how to penetrate. Credit to Xhaka who dealt with Chukwueze relatively well. He had a bit of support back there from I forgot who it was. But somebody was supporting him at the back, and it helped because he was kept quiet. But the mistake had already been made. The damage was already done in the first 5 minutes. And finally, after hacking away at Bukayo Saka for a good part of that game, Etienne Capoue is the unfortunate one at the receiving end of a second yellow. So Etienne Capoue, it goes off. It's 10 versus 10. He takes a very long time to leave the pitch as well. What you thinking? 10 versus 10. Are you thinking that Arsenal are going to go for it and get this second goal?
Yeah. I obviously it's 11 playing field. And I think we played better with 10 men. So I think because Ceballos wasn't on the pitch, so I think we looked a bit more brighter. We looked a bit more like we'd had something lifted, and we certainly made a flurry of getting a goal to level it up, but unfortunately we weren't able to. But yeah, we did look a lot brighter, and I did think we may be able to go and get a goal, but unfortunately it wasn't the case.
Yeah, I was really hoping that they would. I was really hoping that Arsenal would pick themselves up and look around at each other and say, "Boys, this is it. We need to now press forward." And like you said, there was some bright spells in there, definitely in the last sort of 15 minutes or so. But I also question that Villarreal were trying to kill the game as quickly as possible. And again, this was a case of just tactical, almost geniusness from Unai Emery, who clearly knew how to play against Arsenal it really well, again by slowing down the tempo, again by keeping possession, and Arsenal not trying to win the ball back, not trying to commit themselves and get the ball back. It took 85 minutes to get Aubameyang on. I'm laughing to myself because I can't quite understand and believe what on earth was going through his mind that he needed to keep Aubameyang on the bench for as long as he did, even for 15 minutes. Surely he's fit enough to play 15 minutes of football, but he gets him on in the last 5 minutes. And Partey as well, someone who was fading out of the game, making a few mistakes, giving the ball to Villarreal, which almost cost us a goal. But like I said, in the last 2 minutes, Aubameyang has an opportunity, and then we got 5 minutes added on, which doesn't amount to anything really, but that's the end of the game. And Arsenal lose 2-1, and it's all to play for at the Emirates, really, isn't it?
Yep, all to play for. If there's ever a game you need to win, it's this one. And United are pretty much waiting for us if we do get in.
Yeah, home and dry.
Home and dry. Absolutely staggering performance by them. To go behind and then to pull away like they did. But this is not the United Therapy podcast. This is the Arsenal Therapy podcast. I don't want to talk about United too much, but hopefully next week. And then you have the added, it's not the bonus, but you have the protest next week as well.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
before the Villarreal game.
Yeah.
So if they ever needed a response to the protest, and to make up for what they did on Friday against Everton when the first protest happened, that is the response you need. The response is get to the final and hopefully have a great chance of winning the trophy.
Yes, absolutely. Next Thursday is what counts. We are very lucky to have only lost 2-1. Should have been 3-1, 4-1. Villarreal will be kicking themselves for not ending the tie there and then, but we have the away goal. We have somewhat of an advantage going into the Emirates. We need to score and we need to keep a clean sheet, and then we're through to the finals. Will that happen? God knows. What I can say is that the number of players who have been injured are hopefully will be returning, and we will be seeing the likes of Kieran Tierney, David Luiz, Aubameyang, Lacazette, hopefully playing and hopefully rescuing us from this abysmal train wreck of a tie that we witnessed last night. I'm gonna leave it there because I need to dash. I'm running a little bit late, so I want to thank everyone who's watched this stream, who's been commenting, and who's been supporting the show. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed the show, please do help us out by giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. That will be highly appreciated. If you want to reach out to us, let us know with your thoughts, what you thought about the show, whether you wanted to add on to any points that we made. You can find myself on Twitter at Gunner Since 96. You can find James on Twitter as well at James Payne AFC. You can find me on YouTube as well at Gunner Since 96, where I'll be making a lot more content about the aftermath of his press conference, the game leading up to next Thursday as well. But until next Thursday, take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Try and attend the protest as well. We all need to stick together at this point and try and force some change. Yeah, I'll see you next Thursday. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.